Every existence revolves around my existence. The little of deeds therewith my countenance is intended is regarded abundant, and the abundance of deeds therewith anything else other than my countenance is intended as considered little. He who is mindful of God, Mudaki, inhabits, in this world gardens of God's good pleasure, Rida, and swims in well springs of intimate companionship, Uns. The way to approach God is through leaving behind the world and what it contains, for certainly that is what distracts you from God. Took from this world only what was absolutely necessary. Adopt 3 habits: silence, patience, and contentedness. Truly God, exalted as He, has described in this way those whom He has molded with a certain nature, who are connected to Him by a certain link, and who never lapse in their heedfulness, Murakaba, of Him. They are those who never made a choice and desired nothing other than Him. Their only choice is that He should choose for them, even as He has chosen them for Himself. They desire nothing that has any relation to another which will remove them from their dependence solely on Him, for they have freed themselves from other than Him. The acts of worship are nourishment of hearts, whose purpose is their cure, survival, safety in the hereafter, and happiness and enjoyment of meeting Allah Almighty. The real purpose then is the pleasure of happiness of meeting Allah Almighty. None would enjoy the meeting of Allah Almighty but he who dies as a lover for, and a Gnostic of Allah Almighty. However, none loves Him but he who has Gnosis of Him, and none is affable with his Lord but he who remembers Him more often for a long time. Intimacy is obtained by the continuous remembrance, and Gnosis by the permanent meditation, and love necessarily follows Gnosis, and the heart would not be devoted to the permanent remembrance and meditation unless it is disengaged from the occupations of this world, and it would not be disengaged from its occupations unless one is cut off its desires, until he turns to be inclined to and desirous for good, disinclined from and disliking for evil. One inclines to good deeds and acts of worship because he knows well that his happiness in the hereafter is suspended on them. This inclination which depends on knowledge is strengthened by regular work. Thus, by good deeds and acts of worship, the hereafter is intended, and by evils, the world is intended. The inclination of the soul to the hereafter good things and disinclination from the worldly evils disengage it to remembrance and meditation. This is confirmed only by doing the acts of worship regularly and leaving sins by organs, for there is an interactive relation between the organs and the heart. The heart is the intended, and the organs are but means to it. That is the significance of the statement of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Verily, in the body there is a piece of flesh, i.e. the heart, and if it is good, all parts of the body would be good accordingly. This is reported by al-Bukhari and Muslim on the authority of an-Nu'man ibn Bashir. The Prophet, peace be upon him, further said, O Allah, make right both the guardian and the subjects. By the guardian he meant the heart. In confirmation of that, Allah Almighty said, it is not their meat nor their blood that reaches Allah. It is your piety that reaches Him. Al-Hajj 37. The act of giving preference to others over yourself, Eider, is the testimony. Shaheed, of love. The saying has been related from Wuhayb b. al-Ward. God, exalted is. He says, by my might, greatness and majesty, there is no servant who gives preference to my desire over his own desire, without my decreasing his worries, returning to him what he has lost, removing want from his heart, placing richness before his eyes, and trading in his interest through every trader. And by my might and majesty, there is no servant who gives preference to his own desire over my desire, without my increasing his worries, keeping him at a distance from what he has lost, removing richness from his heart and placing poverty before his eyes, and then I care not in which valley he may perish. Quote. His words, exalted as he. 59-9. Whoever is saved from the avarice, shoe, of his own soul, they are the successful. He said, that is, he who is saved from the covetousness, hears, of his self and its miserliness backle, in everything except God and his remembrance, will abide with God, enjoying a good life. Realize the impotence and helplessness of human May God have mercy on the person who lives the simplest of lives, eating just a crust of bread, and wearing worn-out clothes, who is the lowliest of men, strives hard in his worship, cries over the misdeed he commits, flees from punishment and seeks God's mercy up to the moment when death overtakes him, he being in that state. 62-11. But when they see some opportunity for business or some amusement, they scatter off towards it. He said, God has informed us of the despicable nature and base aspiration of the one who is diverted from his Lord by something of this world or the hereafter. For God made the way open for him and allowed him to call on him in intimacy, munajat, but he became preoccupied with that which is transient, and had no knowledge of the one who abides and will abide forever. 55-19. He has loosed the two seas, and they meet. One of these seas is the heart, which contains a variety of gems. The gem of faith, the gem of gnosis, marifa, the gem of realizing God's oneness, the gem of contentment, raida, the gem of love, mahaba, the gem of longing, shak, the gem of sorrow, hazan, the gem of neediness, for God, faqr, and other gems. The other sea is the self, nafs. 87-16. Nay, but you prefer the life of this world. He said, the believer should not be in this world other than as a man riding a piece of wood in the sea, crying the while, O Lord, Ya Rab, in the hope that he may save him from it. Every believing servant who has renounced this world will find that God has placed in charge of him an angel, who will plant in his heart all kinds of wisdom, Hikam. 64. 15. Your possessions and your children are only a test for you. He said, if God gives you wealth, you busy yourselves with how to keep it, and if He does not give you wealth, you busy yourselves with seeking after it. So when will you free yourself for Him?